You're watching News at Prime. We begin here. Rescuers are spending a second night sifting through the rubble of a collapsed multi-story building in George, that's in the Western Cape. 6 people have died and 28 others have been rescued. Over 40 other workers remain unaccounted for after the under-construction apartment block caved in yesterday afternoon. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema is live for us from George at this hour. Sipha, good evening to you and thank you for your time. It has been a very long day for you and indeed the rescue workers. And at the moment, we understand that a person who is alive is possibly being pulled out. Nothing short of a miracle, given that it has passed the 24-hour mark.
Well, definitely, Xoli. I mean, as you mentioned, that it is nothing short of a miracle at the work that is being done here by the rescue teams and those volunteers on the ground has been amazing, and how they were able to detect the responses or the sounds made by those still trapped under the rubble. If you remember earlier on when we spoke to Stephen, they had just established communication, and we saw the teams cheering on after confirming that the person that was underneath the rubble was actually responsive, and then they would be able then to take them out and retrieve them, pull them out of the rubble. And we also saw them taking in a rope. I think right now, Xoli, it's just a matter of actually being able to pull them out. It looks like this last few bits of rubble and bricks is still intact inside there, and that's what they're trying to drill out. But not just at that spot. Now, on our right, you might not see because there's a truck in front of us, but on the right, there's another sound that came from an area just over the truck there, and there's a team currently drilling down there. They have confirmed, as they made an alert, confirmed that they heard a sound coming from that spot. So we could possibly be seeing a second person being retrieved from that area. But right now, all focus is on the one person that where you're seeing the visuals live now, where they're trying to, pull him out. But they've been talking to him and communicating with him, and he's still responding. As you said, it is nothing but a miracle because it's been way over 24 hours. As you can imagine, some of the families are panicking as well because, I mean, we're talking about, hydration as well as food. But it looks like the will to live and also being able to hear that there are people coming to your rescue is what's keeping some of the people that we're hearing responding to the paramedics and the emergency services team keep going right up until this moment, Xoli.
Sipha, the people that remain stuck underground, we are saying that it's over 40 of them. So if this person is pulled out alive, how many will still remain trapped? Do we know the exact number?
Well, currently, Xoli, without him being taken out, we're looking at 43. After they've managed to pull him out from the rubble, we'll be looking at 42 still unaccounted for. But with the hope that a second sound that's coming from my far left over that truck, that if they become successful and they establish communication with that person, then we are looking at 41. But currently where we are is 43, and after retrieving the person that is in there, it would be 42 people unaccounted for, Xoli. And as you can imagine, some of the families, they're beside themselves. I mean, we heard when the 6th person was confirmed dead, one of the family members, or rather wife of one of the deceased, when the news was delivered to her that her husband is one of the deceased, it was really a heartbreaking scene to witness. She had her baby on her back. She even fell over with the baby on the back, and she had the bystanders and some of the family members assisting her up and removing the child from her back because she could not believe, as she had been holding on to that little hope, Xoli, that every single family member right now is holding on to, because when they're talking about finding, or having responses coming in from underneath the rubble, those families that are waiting on the sidelines are hoping that it's their loved one that is responding to the calls.
And it's a heart-wrenching moment that you've just described, Sipha, when that spouse was told that her husband is one of those who did not make it. It leads us to the question about the families that are still waiting for news. Sipha Kema, it must be an agonizing wait for them. Where are they being kept at this hour?
Well, currently they're actually being held in the community hall that's by the municipality, which is right across from the building that actually collapsed, Xoli. And we are being told, of course, that right now they have social workers there with them, assisting them, offering them, social psychological assistance as well, and also food and refreshments being provided, but also getting those updates as promised by Western Cape Premier Alan Winde, saying that they'll be giving them updates in 2-hour intervals, because there were complaints coming from the families earlier on, only saying that they were not able to get any kind of updates coming from the site, and no one knew what was happening with their family members. As you can see now, Xoli, family media is gathered now. It seems like the moment we've been waiting for is happening, and I'm not sure if we're able to step any closer we're just going to have a slight, wobble with the camera, because we just want to move it from the tripod so we can bring in closer, show you those visuals that we all are just waiting for currently, where they're trying to actually retrieve that person they have been trying to get to for the past 2 hours, because the last time that we actually confirmed that they have established communication or verified that there is indeed someone there. That was at 4 p.m. At 5 p.m. we were able to confirm that the person is responding and is alive. But unfortunately now we do have one of the trucks coming in. We won't be able to get those visuals of the individual being pulled out. But what I can tell you, though, Xoli, is that, most of these families, as we've been saying, that they are hoping, that's what they're doing. But because of the news that have been delivered of the 6 deceased, some of them are slowly losing hope, as we've seen some of them earlier on when we came in the morning. They were talking to us, but now they don't even want to talk, because they know that 24 hours has passed with the people still stuck underneath that rubble. It's a concern. It's a major concern, not just as far as hydration, but health, because we were informed, though, that some of the main issues that they're looking into is what exactly the toxins that they're actually breathing inside underneath that rubble, because they're fearing that some of them might not be able to get the oxygen. Now, finally, a truck has cleared. We're able to get in. We see there's a stretcher actually has been brought in. If you can see, a paramedic is already on site with an emergency bag, a jump bag, a paramedic's jump bag, as well as a stretcher waiting for that individual that's about to be pulled under from that rubble. It's been a long 2 hours, Xoli, and I'm sure it has been longer for that person that has been waiting. And, finally that relief, knowing that you've been found and that you'll be put to safety or taken to safety and receive medical assistance, I'm sure it must be a huge relief for them.
Sipha, we're going to keep this visual that you are beaming to us right now, and if you are able to get any closer, of course, with the necessary precautions so that we do not show viewers anything that will shock them in terms of injuries or anything like that. But let's keep the conversation going, because this was a 5-story building, and as I've been reading media reports, just before coming on air, they were talking about how some of the workers were actually on the roof of this building when it actually caved in. I suppose there is no telling at this stage, Sipha, as to whether or not this particular person that's being rescued now alive, in which part of the building out of these 5 stories would he have been? I'm sure that's very hard to tell given just the mangled nature of the site.
Absolutely, Kholi. I mean, you can tell from the rubble that we're seeing before us that when the building came down, it came down forward. So most of the building or the construction that was on the top levels actually it did not come straight down. It actually fell forward. But we know that one of the survivors that had been communicating with their family via phone and voice notes and WhatsApp actually was able to let them know where they are exactly. We spoke to his father earlier on, Mr. Dion Savers, and Mr. Dion Savers was telling us, that he actually alerted his family, who then alerted the authorities and medical services that he's under Unit 7. They were able then to go to the building plan and allocate where exactly Unit 7 is. But we have not yet confirmed if it is indeed him. But because he was one of the survivors, they were able to pinpoint. They have been looking in that particular spot for most part of the day because he was able to establish his location and which unit he was in when the building collapsed, and now obviously receiving response. But we will be able to confirm after they have retrieved pulled him out of that rubble, whether or not it is Mr. Dion's son or who exactly is the person that was inside and which part of the building they were in. But I think also, Kholi, it's important to also mention, or just to remind the viewers, that what they're seeing right now is top level. We've been informed that actually when the building collapsed, it went down 3 levels or layers down, because remember there was also a basement level that was used for parking, which was underground parking, and it seems as though it went down to that level. Hence, it's been really hard, to actually detect some of those trapped underneath the rubble, even using the thermal drones, because underneath all that thick concrete, Kholi, it's been difficult to actually establish where some of them are. And those that they were able to pinpoint are the ones that they were able to actually pull out immediately.
Sipha, there is perhaps one moment that the waiting families simply would not want to hear at this stage, and that is the rescue teams possibly taking a break overnight and perhaps wanting to continue this in the morning. Any telling at this stage as to whether or not these rescue efforts are going to go on for the next 24 hours without stopping?
We can confirm, Kholi, that this rescue mission will continue as told by, the head of the disaster in the Western Cape province, telling us that actually they're going to continue non-stop for 3 days, Kholi. I mean, the rescue teams that we've seen, then they have been on site working hard since the moment the building collapsed. And also, Kholi, it's not just the emergency services that's actually here. Some of the people that are here are volunteers. It's your everyday South African who wants to, lend a helping hand here. And that's what they did. They took a helmet, a bib, and also received safety boots, and they're assisting in digging up parts of these bricks and the rubble as well. So what we've been told is that the efforts will continue overnight. There is no stopping as they have done the previous night. But what they do is they do exchange, and we see different different shifts coming in, where we see some of those emergency services personnel, firefighters, leaving for a moment just to get a bit of rest and then returning while another team then exits. But we've seen some that have been on site since this morning when we arrived at 5 a.m. They're still going, Oli, but to make sure that they still have a bit of energy left in them, because this is hard work, this is tireless work that they're doing, making sure that they're picking and drilling through that thick rubble as well as concrete. It's a lot of effort, and also getting inside to go and establish communication or to confirm and verify whether the person is responsive or if they're able to see someone is a lot of work. And that's when we've been seeing some of the team changing and some of those volunteers also going out to take a break. We spoke to one of those volunteers, which is two gentlemen who actually own a shop with the building right next to this building. And they actually said that they take a bit of a break, a breather for 30 minutes or so, and then they get back into it.
Sipha, that is absolutely comforting news that the rescue effort is going to go on non-stop, at least for the next 3 days, because that gives those families that are waiting in agony some hope that their loved ones may be the one that is being pulled out. Let's continue the conversation, Sipha, because you have been there for all of the days. Let me say all of today, starting very early on. I think at 6 o'clock, I saw your first message into the team's WhatsApp group. That's how we work here in the newsroom, that we keep updating each other via the WhatsApp group. And as you were, I'm sure, talking to people and trying to understand what actually happened in the moments that this building caved in, I'm just going to relate to you a story that is written on News 24 of one of the witnesses. This lady is understood to be a councillor in the municipality in the George area, and she was actually standing on the balcony, but she was outside talking to a colleague who is inside her building. And she's quoted here as saying that every time I close my eyes, I see it again. And she says, you only see something like this in the movies. You never really think that this is something you can actually witness with your eyes. And she talks about how moments earlier she had seen some of the workers working on the rooftop. Some of the people that you were interacting with there throughout the day, what are they telling you about what actually happened?
Well, I can tell you, Kholi, I mean, some of the eyewitnesses that we spoke to are some of the workers from the municipality. Municipality building is literally right across from the collapsed building. And what they told us was, besides even seeing, it was also hearing and feeling that when the building collapsed, it shook the municipality building as well. They could feel, and they wondered what had happened because it shook the building that they were working from as well. And also, I mean, we spoke to some of those workers that were expected to come in for the later shift, who were coming in to clock in later in the day. Some of them had not even heard what had happened, but had found out when they got to the site where they were told what had actually happened. I mean, you can just imagine, Kholi, some of them probably thinking that they had missed, what had happened just by an hour or 30 minutes or so. But not only that, we spoke to one of the workers who had actually called in sick yesterday, Kholi, and he said that he called in sick. And then when he later found out what had happened, he rushed to the site, to the scene, just to confirm for himself what had happened. And he says, although he was, relieved a bit, but he still feels bad because some of those that are trapped underneath that rubble are some of his friends and colleagues and people that he normally works with on building sites. Now, Besides those individuals that we spoke to, I think, Xoli, most importantly, it's seeing the look on the family members' faces, Xoli. It is just, I cannot even describe. And, it's hard even talking to them because you kind of, sympathize and understand what they're going through right now, especially at this moment where some of them don't even want to talk to us or want to even give us an update because they are waiting in desperation to find out whether their family member is one of those that will be pulled out tonight.
Sipha, as we wait, hopefully, for that important moment when this person is ultimately pulled out and hopefully alive, the Premier of the province, Alan Winde, lashing out earlier today at what he says is fake news that is spreading terrible news about the number of people who may have died here. I don't think I've ever seen him that angry. Talk to us about what he had to say a little earlier on. I understand he also even made commentary around this not being the time for politicking because this is a tragedy.
Yes. Oh, well, absolutely, Xoli. I mean, we heard, as you said, you heard his voice. You saw how angry he was with the fake news that has been circulating on social media, the numbers, how many people have died, saying that 26 people that have actually survived are the ones that have died. That kind of news can cause panic because some of the people's family members are not even here and they're relying on some of the information coming out from the news reports, the media, as well as social media. So that is a problem, and it could hinder and cause panic to the work that's already being done in the communication lines that have been opened between the municipality, the provincial government, and the media, as well as the families as well, Xoli. But also what he spoke on regarding, politics, this is not a time to play politics, is that earlier on in the day, we had seen, several political parties on the scene wearing their regalia, not really, part of any assistance, just rather walking about or rather, being around the scene. But they were asked to move because, as we know that this scene currently, they cannot have, a lot of people here. It is a closed scene. They have allowed us as media because they want to be transparent in what's happening and for us to be able to report, correctly what's happening and, how many people have been, pulled out of the rubble. So they were asked to move aside. And I mean, we've seen also some of those political parties trying to gather, media briefings, impromptu media briefings or scrums on the side of the scene. So that's why he was talking to, saying that it is not a time for politics right now. The most important thing is to save lives and the people that are still trapped underneath the rubble, and to also assure the families and make sure that the families are receiving the support, emotional and mental support that they need.
Sipha Kema, we're going to take a pause there and allow you to breathe a little bit. Sipha Kema live for us in George. That is the scene of this tragedy that has occurred. And let's remind you that so far the authorities telling us that 6 people sadly have lost their lives as a result of this building collapsing. 28 other people have been rescued already, and there is hope tonight, as you would have heard a little earlier if you missed that part of the broadcast. Right now, the reason that there is a scrum right on that picture that Sipha Kema is beaming to us, it's because there is a person that rescue teams have been communicating with at least for the past 2 hours. And what they're trying to do is reach out to that person very carefully and sensitively as they possibly can, because this is the fall of ground, if you like. And so anything that they could do wrong might just lead to a tragic moment. And so it has been 2 hours them communicating with this person, and they are possibly at the moment now where they could be bringing that person out alive. And Sipha Kema telling us that the ambulance teams, they also have been brought a little closer. There is a stretcher as well that has been brought nearby so that that person is immediately taken to a nearest medical facility. But that's where we are right now. Reports suggesting that at the time of the collapse of this building, at least there were some 75 people working on this 5-story building that sadly caved in at around the hour of 2.